Dear students, in this video I am going to explain about the various elements of cost. I am Dr. S. Sampath, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Commerce, St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science, Autonomous, Cuddalore. First, I will explain about what do you mean the elements of the cost. If you take the cost accounting, we should understand what are the basic elements that determine the cost in the manufacturing of a product or service. So the elements play a important role to find out the cost, in a production or delivering a service. So it's a duty of the cost accountant or the accountant. They have to find out the cost, what are the expenditure they spend in each element. The elements are broadly classified into three major categories: material, labor, and overheads. Let's see the chart. Thus clearly you may get some of the outline about what are the elements of the cost. First one material, and second one labor, and third one direct expenses. Okay, and material are further classified into direct material and indirect material, and same like labor are classified into direct labor and indirect labor. Expenses also classified into direct expenses and indirect expenses. Expenses also known as overheads. The indirect expenses are further classified. Both indirect material, indirect labor, or indirect expenses are classified related to the production overhead, administration overhead, sales overhead, and distribution overhead. First, we see the material cost. See, it's a duty of the cost accountant. They have to find out how much amount they have spent in each element. So first, let me explain the material cost. Material cost play a major role in the total cost of a product or services. If the company they want to increase the profit, or they want to reduce the price of the product, or they want to overcome the competition in the market, definitely they have to concentrate, they have to focus, or they have to use some strategy to reduce the cost in all the elements. So here material cost play a major role in to incur in the total cost. So material cost means here what amount the organization spend to purchase a raw material, for the production. Okay. So then the material are classified into further category like direct material, indirect material. Direct material means these are the costs they are spent by the organization to purchase the raw material, for their production. What are the amount they are spending to purchase a raw material for production? Those expenses come under the direct material. For example, cotton used in production of cloth. Cotton, what are the what amount they are spending to purchase the cotton of the cloth? Then it will come under the category of direct material. And like in leather company, what amount they spend to purchase the leather, it's come under the category of direct material. The next one, indirect material. Indirect material is the amount or material used in production, but they're not directly involved in the production. We're not directly able to find out or traceable what amount they spend for each production, but they are necessary for the production, but they do not become a part of the finished product. So we are not able to find out the cost of the indirect material for each unit, but we are able to find out the indirect cost for the finished product. So example of the indirect material, the stationery used in the office or advertising poster, as the small tools are used in the manufacturing unit, come under the indirect material cost. Next one, labor. Labor, it means labor cost. Labor cost means the organization, how much amount they spend for the human resources or the workforces, that is called labor cost. So nowadays the organization using the lot of the strategy to reduce the labor cost. So labor cost means how much organization spend for the workforce or human source. Labor costs play a significant role in cost accounting. The expenses incurred by workforce employed in the production process. So again, that labor cost also divided into two categories. First one direct labor and second one indirect labor. Direct labor means the workforce directly involved in the production or directly involved in delivering services. Direct labor cost can explain, we can easily able to find out what amount of the labor cost we are spending for the production and what amount of cost we are spending for the delivering the service. Example, that in automobile industry, the workers in assembling the spare parts or assembling the cars are considered as a direct labor. Their wages is taken as a direct wages. It means the amount we are spending for the labors, like the wages we are spending for the labors, is come under the category of direct labor or direct wages. Direct labor also called as direct wages. Next one, indirect labor. Indirect labor cost is the remuneration paid for labor and engaged or involved to help the production operation, like inspector, watchman, storekeeper. So what are the remuneration we have paid for this person? We cannot able to trace or find out for each job or each process. So the labor cost, ideal time, overtime, so they taken as an indirect cost. So what here, the indirect cost means we are not able to find out the labor cost for each job or each process, but we are able to find out the labor cost for the entire production. Okay, that is called indirect labor. Third one, direct expenses or overhead cost or expenses. Right? Overhead cost is it's a play a major role in cost accounting, emphasizing the total cost of a production. So what are the costs other than the material, labor? What are the costs we are spent by the organization to manufacturing a product or to delivering the service? Thus come under the category of overhead cost. So direct overhead are the costs that can be directly we can allocate or apportion for the particular cost center. It means we are able to find out the cost for each cost per unit. Okay, this is much amount is paying for the particular product, particular unit. So we are able to find out the cost spent for each unit. That is called direct expenses or direct overhead. In manufacturing expenses, we can easily able to find out the electricity cost of running a machinery can be direct overhead attribute to the production department. The next one, indirect labor. In indirect labor, the indirect labor means the cost is the remuneration paid for or the expenses we paid for other than the direct material or indirect labor, which can be directly identified with units of output job. Example, rent, power, lighting, depreciation, bank charges. These are some example of indirect expenses. Next, I am going to explain what is the role of the cost element in cost accounting. Why we have to study about the cost elements, why we have to aware about the cost elements. First purpose, role, cost identification and cost classification. If you prepare the cost sheet, that it will be helpful to the organization how much amount is spent for the manufacturing, how much spent for the selling, how much amount they spend for the administrative purpose. So they are easily able to identify the cost for in each element. So on the each element, and then it easily helpful to the organization to classify the cost, how much element, how much expenses they spend for in each element. Second one, cost allocation and cost appropriation. This assisted allocating appropriation the cost to the various departments. So this we easily if you find out the cost for in each element, then it can easily helpful to the organization for the cost allocation. Third one, budgeting and forecasting. By understanding the cost element, organization can easily prepare how much cost they required for the material, how much cost they required for purchasing the raw material, how much cost they required for human resource, and then how much cost they required for other expenses. So if you know if they know the cost for each element, based on that the company prepare the budget for the upcoming period. Pricing decision. The cost elements also helpful for the organization to take a pricing decision. Based on the cost incurred by the organization, each element, they may calculate the total cost. After calculating the total cost, after finding the total cost, the company they may take a decision to fixing the selling price. So that cost elements helpful to the organization to price fixation. The next one, cost control and cost reduction. If the organization knows the cost of each element, that it is easy to organization to reduce the cost. They easily are able to identify where we are spending more cost. So they are taking the necessary action or necessary strategy to reduce the cost in each element. Performance evaluation. So cost elements also helpful to the organization to evaluate the performance of each department, whether they are functioning well or not well, what they are actually doing. So to calculate the performance evaluation, that cost elements helpful to the organization. Financial reporting and financial analysis. Accurate cost based cost elements also is essential for reliable financial reporting and analysis. Last one, strategic decision making. Though the previous cost accounting, it informed strategic decision making. So if the organization know the cost of each element and total cost, so everything while preparing the cost sheet, they know the cost of each element. So based on that, the company, if they want to overcome the competition, if they want to reduce the selling price, they want to take in some other strategy, then they based on the cost, they may take a decision. So this helpful to the organization. The cost elements helpful to the organization to take a strategic decision making. Thank you.